All right, I believe we are live. If there's any first people in the chat, please let me know that you can hear us. I just want to make sure everyone can hear us before we start talking. If there's any first people in the chat, please. Whoops. You probably just heard me twice there. And the live and the Facebook.
Make sure everyone can hear us before
we
start talking.
The Facebook's good. All right, I know we're live. People can trickle in when they want to trickle in.
You're echoing or something.
Oh no! So I have my for the monitor. Actually, let me remove my monitor and add a new stop screen. I'm gonna add a new one because I accidentally, when I hit share screen, I accidentally hit share audio tab.
Oh, okay.
There we go. There we go. All right. All right, guys. This is the Hoover, the Not Marine National Trail Hoover tournament preview. We are the kayak division of the Hoover Cats Trail that goes on at Hoover every single month. That's a little different if you're part of the Hoover Cats boat tournament. Everything's supposed to be ran exactly the same as it was ran in March, just with different administrators and stuff. They're going to try and continue the series as it used to be. Unfortunately, the former admin had passed in an awful boating accident on Hoover in March. I pinned a comment after their boat weigh-ins, which I believe is at 4 or 5. They're going to be having a ceremony for Shane if anybody wants to be part of that. I don't know if I'm going to be sticking around for it or not. It just depends on honestly how tired I am. It is Mother's Day the next day, and the mother of my child has been sacrificing a lot to let me do all this fishing shenanigans. So I may or may not be on the road. Ryan's laughing because he's in the same boat.
We're both in the doghouse.
Yeah, big shout out to all the significant others of those who are letting us take these long weekends to chase these whiskered fish. So let's go. Facebook user, whoever it says I'm here, make sure you allow StreamYard to access your account so I can see your name if you're watching on Facebook. If you guys can try and watch on YouTube, just because trying to get that YouTube page to grow would be great. It would be awesome to have the majority of these on the YouTube page in the future. But let's go right into Hoover. So I'm going to bring up the computer screen here in a second. So this is essentially our checklist. Let me go to where we're actually meeting. Oxbow Road Boat Ramp. That is where our check-in is at the end of the event, and that is where our Friday night meeting is between 6 and 8 p.m. 6 p.m., I'm going to start the board checks. 7 p.m., we're going to have the meeting, unless every registered angler shows up ahead of time. If every registered angler shows up before 7 and I get all the board checks done, we're going to do it as fast as possible, let everyone go home. And then the next morning, you can launch wherever you want on the body of water. Lines in are at 7, lines out at 3 p.m., and then you have to be back at Oxbow Ramp by 4 p.m. or you are disqualified. You have to be back at the ramp by 4 p.m. You're disqualified. There is no mandatory morning check-in. The only way you have to check in the morning is if you missed the meeting the night before. I am going to ask you, if you cannot make the meeting the night before, give me a heads up. That way I'm not waiting for, let's say 20 people register and there's 19 people waiting for the meeting to go on, and you can't make the meeting, you're going to show up the morning of. Let me know. That way I can start the meeting without you. You can check in the morning. I will be at Oxbow Boat Ramp by 6 a.m., which will give you a little less time to get to your spot to trailer and stuff. But yeah, we're going to go over the times again. It's the night before Friday, this upcoming Friday at Oxbow, starting at 6 p.m. is the packet pickup / board check. Your board must be there. Your kayak does not have to be there. I'm actually going to ask you not to, if you're not currently pre-fishing, I'm going to actually ask you not to bring your kayak just for the space limitations. So 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the check-in Friday night. 7 p.m. is when we start the meeting, which honestly, if you watch this, you don't really need to be at the meeting. We're just going to essentially be going over everything we're going here. And then the next morning, it's 6 a.m. You're going to check in here if you couldn't make the meeting the night before. If you made the meeting the night before and you have your packet, 7 a.m. lines in, launch anywhere you want. It doesn't matter to me. If you type in Hoover Reservoir boat launches, There's only about 4 that I have found, really. Twin Bridges, Walnut, Sunbury, and Oxbow. There might be more. Some locals might be aware of more. The reason there's no spreadsheet that I'm supplying for everyone on this, one, there's no current. So you're essentially just fishing no current the entire time. There's no real hints that we can give you on where there may or may not be more current. A bunch of Aaron's on the actual reservoir right now fishing. He said he got a bunch of dings so far. And yeah, I believe there's only these 4 boat ramps. So I didn't think a spreadsheet was necessary. You should be able to do this minimal amount of research yourself and figure it out. We will be going into a little Navionics review later. Again, we're not going to be going into like spots. It's just going to be really general, explaining just the concept of the lake itself. But yeah, though we just went over all the times and stuff when we're going to check in. Hit me up if you have any questions after that. So we went over the mandatory meeting the night before. Oh yeah, registration cutoff is 7 p.m. I believe the night before. Let's just double check that to make sure. It's either 6 or 7 p.m. the night before, because I want to knock all registration issues out before the tournament begins. Let's see here. It is 6 p.m. the night before. Registration ends at 6 p.m. the night before. So before the meeting starts, you have to be registered. Let me update that for future chats. We went over the board check. We went over lines in, lines out time, event boundaries. So let's go over event boundaries. It's really simple, guys. Launch on Hoover, and you have to be fishing a body of water that is connected to Hoover that is navigable by kayak. What that means is essentially, if you can't get to it with a trolling motor from the main body of water, you can't fish it. So let's go back really quick to Google Maps and go to Hoover Reservoir. I could just do it quicker this way. So essentially what that means is, like, check this out, guys. I'll just zoom in on Twin Bridges. So here's Twin Bridges. As long as you can get up here with your trolling motor and you never have to get out of the kayak to fish it, this is all legal fishing. If you can get up in this little creek, if you want to go fish this little creek and you never have to get out of your kayak, it's all legal fishing. The moment you cannot navigably access the body of water from the main channel, then you are out of bounds. It's really simple. But the nice thing about Hoover, honestly, I don't really see a reason to be going up here. It's not really spawning time of the year. I don't really see a big reason to be going far back into these channels. But like this right here, you see this? If you want to go back here, perfectly legal. There's nothing illegal about this. It's as long as you can get there by navigably by your kayak, you're good to go. And yeah, and it's essentially those 4 boat ramps. I'm sure there's other boat ramps that kayaks can access, but I'm not going to go into super detail on that. All right, moving over. Let's see here. Payout structure. We'll go over the payout structure really quick. So we're going to use the identical payout structure that we just used. Oh, hold on. I do have to go over one boundary. I do apologize. There is a northern and southern boundary. I do apologize. And I think someone, Flatheads and Blues in Channel 2, I think he just mentioned it. All right, here it is. All right. The northern boundary, so check this out, guys, right here. Route 24, aka West Columbus Street Bridge, is the northern boundary. So that is the northern boundary. This guy right here, that's the northern boundary. And then the southern boundary is the dam. You can't fish below the dam. I don't want to see anyone taking their kayak through the dam. But yeah, there is an actual northern boundary. I do apologize. So you cannot go past this bridge right here. This bridge is off limits. You cannot go up into here. So that kind of contradicts what I said earlier about if it's navigable from the main body of water. But this is actually the northern cutoff, is this West 24 or this West Columbus Street Bridge. Thank you, whoever just mentioned that down in the chat. So yeah, right there, that is the cutoff for the north. All right. Boundaries are good. Now let's go over payout structure. All right, payout structure, identical to the payout structure that we had at the Chickamauga event. So if you guys just want to pause it right here, if you're watching it back, and go back through and just take a look at everything, $1,000 guaranteed. The first big fish starts at $200. It's $150 entry. After the credit card fee that the app charges, it's 145. 25 of each entry goes to big fish. 20 of each entry goes to the King Cat or Cat King event, and then $100 total to the pot. And then at the end of the tournament, we will be doing a $150 mystery fish drawing, which is every legally submitted fish. We will draw a random number. Closest to without going under that number will win $150. So every single line here that you see a payout, add an extra additional payout, because if you didn't already get paid out during the event, you have a chance at winning the Monster Rod Holder Mystery Fish Prize. Which brings me to the sponsors, who I forgot that the very first point, if you guys have seen that. Thank you. Big shout out to Chubby Fish Dave. He's the primary sponsor of this event. He's the title sponsor. Chubby Fish Outdoors no longer exists, unfortunately, but he is honoring it. The big fish sponsor is BCAT Boards. I'm a giant fan of their multi-species boards. Ryan uses the multi-species and the big board still. I think these are fantastic for the kayak. They're worth every single penny because they're small and compact. They get out of the way and they still pull hard. The biggest issue I have with the big boards is just storage. That long pole is just, it's so annoying to find a spot where that, it's going to sound dumb, but that extra 2-3 inches on the pole just gets in the way everywhere in the kayak. So these short ones, they fit in bins. It's great. And then Monster Rod Holders, they
Mike,
have
real quick on Dave's, he's sending everybody over to the cat calls page now. So
Oh, is he?
yes.
All right. So if that's the case, we'll post. We'll talk with Dave about that, and we'll start posting a little bit about that, because if that's where that's going, that way we can still support Dave somehow. Because Dave sponsored two. For everyone who doesn't know, Dave has sponsored 2 events. So Dave has invested roughly $2,100 or $1,900 total into this scene for us this year. There we go. And then, yeah, Monster Rod Holder. This is the Monster Rod Holder Mystery Fish. They have a lot of kayak stuff. I know a lot of guys in the kayak world who uses his rod holders. He has the kayak bases, etc. You don't have to use the kayak stuff, but he does have kayak equipment, which is available, which is nice. All right. Over to, got the sponsors out of the way. I do apologize, sponsors. I meant to start off thanking the sponsors. It's literally right there, right here at the very top. Let's go. Payout. We were on the payout structure. I believe we already went over that. So, yeah, if you want to go back through and pause it, but we already talked about it. And now the juicy stuff. Available bait and ways to obtain it. Guys, you have to have an Ohio license. And in Ohio, all game fish is legal bait as long as you caught it legally on rod and reel. All rough fish or forage fish, or whatever you want to call, they're all legal bait. Like shad, carp, let's see what else, shad, carp, red horse sucker, all that kind of stuff. They're all legal bait as well. A very good bait up there in any lake that I fished. Crappies are really good bait. There is a 9-inch minimum on crappie though, so if you're going to use a crappie, make sure it at least starts above 9 inches before you use it. If anyone is curious on any videos of Hoover, dragging is a very popular tactic in lakes in general, not just Hoover. And I have a how to drag for catfish video. There's a lot of us in the kayak catfishing world that have motors. This goes over everything you need to know on how to set up a drag. So everyone should be able to figure out how to drag with this video alone. And then if you just want to see what I did at Hoover last year, it was the last time I beat that guy in a tournament. I also have a Ohio Kayak Catfishing Trail Stop 1 Hoover Cats video out if you want to see, me fishing on the lake itself. So that's the available bait. How to obtain bait? 5-foot cast net, guys. Remember, if you're coming from out of state, 5-foot cast net. I have not had any issues with the DNR personally in Ohio. I actually have a really good relationship. However, the thing that I do know people have been busted for the most is too big of a cast net and no numbers on their kayak. If you have a motor on your kayak. Try and get it registered. Hopefully, I have mine registered by this weekend, but I'm still in that window. I'm still in that window though. I believe it's like a 60 or 90-day window you have to get your new boat registered. So if I do get pulled over for no numbers, if I don't have them, I'm still in the clear. Luckily, there. Um, Typically, in reservoirs, you want to be movement fishing. Typically, in a tournament anyway. So like dragging, suspend drifting, all that kind of stuff. The structure of Hoover is the northern portion where we're launching is typically shallower. And then as you go south, it typically gets deeper. So as you see here, we're in the 20s, 30s, and 40s in the middle of the lake. And then once you get to the very bottom, you are all the way into the 60s. We're not going to, if you were at our seminars in the off season, Ryan and I actually did a breakdown of specific spots. We're not going to do a breakdown of specific spots on the tournament preview. That is for you to, that is your job as the angler and the competitor. And your pre-fishing is your job and all that kind of fun stuff. Selling bait. Ryan, I'm going to let you take over here for a second. I have my bait dealer's license. I'm not going to be selling bait at this one just because I honestly can't guarantee I'm going to have bait to sell at this one other than the stuff that I have in my freezer. So I don't want to put out there that bait is going to be available at the meeting when it's not. This one, you may have to be responsible for bringing your own bait or getting your own bait when you get up here. You are either going to have to throw your cast net for shad the night before or the morning of, or, that kind of stuff. You're allowed to try and obtain bait before lines in time via cast net. You cannot try and obtain bait via rod and reel same day of the event. So you can't be out there crappie fishing same day of the event trying to get bait. You can throw your cast net the same day, the morning of. You cannot be out there rod and reel trying to obtain bait. So Ryan, I know you have your dealer's license now too. Are you going to be offering anything?
All I have is frozen skips, and if somebody wants them and you want to sell them to them, I don't have an Ohio dealer's license, and I'm not buying it just for this. So if somebody wants skips, I'll bring them to you, and you can sell them what they want. I've got 250 in the freezer, but I'm not going to bring a pile of skips and nobody buy them. So
yep, okay.
If you want it, message me or Mike. I'll bring it to you. They're 2 packs for $8. I got some 3 packs of small skips. They're $8 as well.
Got it. So if you guys heard that, if you guys want to buy bait, you're going to be buying it from me through Ryan. I have an Ohio bait dealer's license. He does not. So I will sell them to you, but you have to get a hold of him ahead of time. We're not just going to automatically have them. The last 2 events we had down in Tennessee, bait is plentiful. It was easy to sell. There's no guarantee for it up here. So if you want bait and you want to purchase it the day before, make sure you get a hold of Ryan or me so we can get it to you. If you're new and you want to participate, but you don't have a bump board, I have 5 extras for rent. If somebody doesn't want to invest in a bump board, I have purchased 5 extras. They are $25 for the day. If you want to rent it, you have to return it to me at the end of the day, at the end of the tournament. So we no longer have anyone who can use the excuse, I would do it, but I don't have a bump board, because I have 5 spares now. So if anybody wants to do it and your reason for not doing it is you don't have a board, you can rent one off me for $25 day of the event. So I think that's more than fair considering each one I bought was $100. So that's your that's your membership fees to good use. Let's see here. What's next? Type of fishing we already talked about. I'm a big fan of movement fishing in lakes and reservoirs. I feel like I catch a lot more numbers that way. There's no guarantee you're going to catch bigger fish that way, but in the tournament setting, I always try and catch my fish and then just work my way up. And one of the most effective ways to catch fish in a reservoir is dragging, and our water temps are high enough to drag at this point in time. It's not on here. Life jackets at all times for us in-person events. I know we changed our national rules to our national rules for month-longs and stuff, or just whatever your state laws are. These in-person events, at all times, unless you are changing clothing. If you're changing clothing and you want to take a hoodie off, you got hot, take off your life jacket, take off your hoodie, put your life jacket immediately back on, and vice versa. If you're cold, your life jacket can come off. You cannot handle any fish while you change. I don't care if you are, let's say you're dragging or you're suspended, you can leave your lines out. I'm not going to, that's a little ridiculous that some scenes you're not allowed to leave your lines out while you change. You can leave your lines out, but if you get a hit, you have to be completely secure before you can handle that fish and that rod. Yeah, I think that's it. Is there any questions on Hoover, or Ryan, do you want to add anything to Hoover?
I had a question earlier about somebody launching from somewhere other than the ramp that they take out at. Is that permissible?
What do you mean? Do you mean like launching at Twin Bridges and then just coming over to us for the 4 p.m. time?
Yeah,
Oh, that's perfectly fine, guys. Yeah. So
that's
like,
what I.
that's a great question. So the beauty about this lake, it's big, but like realistically, you could launch anywhere, and then when you're done fishing, realistically, you can get back to Oxbow without having to take your kayak out. So for instance, like right here, this is Twin Bridges. If you launch here, and let's say you're out here fishing and 3 o'clock hits and you want to fish up to 3 o'clock, you are more than welcome to come on over the Oxbow, get there before 4 p.m., do your check-in, and then once you're done, like once 4 p.m. hits, you're more than welcome to leave and go all the way back down to Twin Bridges. Walnut is a little farther away. Where's it at? Where's it at? Is this Walnut right here? Yeah, Walnut's a little farther away, but even Walnut, man, if you go up the lake a little bit from Walnut and you end up fishing over here, if you feel like you can make it to Oxbow quicker than you could if you pulled out and drove up, that's perfectly legal. There's no issues with that whatsoever. The only thing that I have to see you at the boat ramp between 3 and 4 p.m. Physically. You physically have to be there between 3 and 4 p.m. Or you have to drop your chip off before 3 p.m. If I'm not at the boat ramp and you get there before me, look for my big black Jeep. By one of the tires will be a container for chips. Just put your chip at my Jeep and you can leave. Let's say you're having a frustrating day and 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock rolls around and you just want to bounce. You don't have, and you have a fish or two on the board. You don't have to wait until the end of the event. Just go to the boat ramp, Oxbow, drop your chip off that I gave you in your packet pickup, and you can leave at that time if you want. If you don't drop your chip off, then you are disqualified if you just leave. And I strongly suggest shooting me a message on Facebook like, hey, I'm going to drop my chip off at your Jeep, just so you know, I'm out of here. We had some anglers last event do that, and which is perfectly fine. Like they told me like, hey, we're leaving. We're going to go drop our chip off right now. And I'm like, all right, cool. Best of luck, guys. I hope to see you in future events. So yeah, if you're having a rough day and you want to leave early, that's fine. But if you want your fish to count to that point, you do have to drop your chip off, and vice versa. If you finish the event and you don't cash, remember there's a point race involved, and there's $1,000 guaranteed to the winner. That pot's up to $1,540, I think. Minimum of $1,000 going to the winner of that. So if you come in fifth, but you don't return to the check-in ramp at the end by 4 p.m., all your fish are disqualified. It's as if you never fished the event. You only get 50 points registering. So that's how that works. Water temps are 65. 65. That's nice. That's a great water temp. I'm actually excited. I'm either leaving Thursday night after darts to go up and fish Friday morning, or I'm leaving Friday morning to fish until our meeting at 6 p.m. I will be out on the lake fishing up until about 5:30. I'll come back, take my kayak out, do the meeting at Oxbow, and then I'll meet whoever can't make the meeting. I'll come back that morning and we can do our check-in at 6 a.m. So let's see here. Anything else before we go to some off-topic news? We got this done pretty quick. We're at 24 minutes. The last couple I think we did were like into 40 minutes, but there was a lot more to go over in those. Any questions from the Facebook and the guys on YouTube? Now's the time to ask. No questions? I'm almost positive it's your biggest three. Let me just double check that. I'm almost positive it's your biggest three. There's no slot. Our events, the beauty about having events online is there are no slots whatsoever. All right, let's see here. Why do I? Jeez, Mike, get on your game. And you're supposed to be a good administrator. Why is it not right there in the first couple sentences? No, it's right there in the first couple sentences. Format is combined length of your 3 longest fish: catfish, flatheads, and blues. Yeah, it is in the first couple sentences. Boom, right there. And there's no slot. So if you catch 3 40-inch blue cats or 2 40-inch blue cats and a 45-inch flathead, that's your score. That's the beauty about fishing these online events is the best fisherman actually won the event, like guaranteed. It's not, the whoever had the 2 best fish and the best under. It's you catch the best fish, you were the best fisherman that day, you won our event. That's the beauty of the online events. Anything you want to add, Ryan?
If somebody catches 2 40s and a 45-inch flathead, they win.
Well, guys, last year, I don't know if it's been beat since. Last year when we went down in April, the tournament record was set that day. I want to say it was like a 40-something blue, a 40-something flathead, and I think it was either 90 or 100 pounds that won it in the 3 best for the boat guys. It was insane.
There was several other fish weighed in at that tournament that were 40-pound range fish.
Yeah. So like, guys, I understand it is Ohio, but this is by far the best blue cat fishery Ohio has to offer, and multiple 40+ inch fish get caught out of this lake every event. So it's not. I don't be surprised if we see the most 40-inch fish caught all year from this event. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if we did. I wouldn't bet on it, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it had the most 40-inch fish of all 6 events that we had this year. So, is it possible for John to
big fish last year at what, 39.75?
Hold on one second. Tamara, yeah, that's there's no issue with that at all. If you're not signed up for the actual event, you guys can do whatever you want. That is perfectly fine. Whoever signed up for the event, though, they just have to be at the meeting the night before and be back at the boat ramp by 4 p.m. the following day. What was that, Ryan?
Last year, the big fish was what, 39.75 in ours? That's what I had, or it was right at 40 inches.
I thought you broke 40, if I'm just being honest.
I had a couple in the 30, 37, 38 inch range pre-fishing, and then the only fish I caught on tournament day was that big fish, I think.
Cowan, Sandusky, Hoover. Let's go view it. So 39.5. So here is Ryan Bort's big fish last year, right here. That was Ryan Bort's big fish last year. That's a good fish. It almost knocked him out of the kayak.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
My nap.
There we go, guys. So I didn't have the screen up. I'm like, oh, here, look, here's Ryan's. This is Ryan's big fish, 39.5 right here. I was right next to him taking my nap when he caught this fish. And then my big fish, I believe I had the second big one at 38.
So frustrated.
Yeah. That was my big fish.
Like right beside me at the same time.
Yep.
But yeah, I was so frustrated, man. I killed it pre-fishing that day before when me and you and Mark went. And then the next day I couldn't get a bite at all.
I remember.
And we were dragging right beside each other.
I remember. Yeah. Any more questions from the chat? I'm just going to reiterate the check-in times. 6 p.m. this upcoming Friday on the 12th. That's when we start the board checks at Oxbow Boat Ramp. 7 p.m. is the meeting. Unless everyone registered is there before 7, then we're going to get that meeting over with quickly. And then if you don't make it there, I will stay there until 8 p.m. If you're traveling, if you're on your way there, I will stay there until 8 p.m. If you don't think you're going to make it there by 8 p.m., let me know. You can still check in and get your board check and get all that stuff done on Saturday morning, the day of the event. That'll be at 6 a.m. That starts at 6 a.m. Board checks at 6 a.m. morning of, if you cannot make the night before meeting. And then day of tournament, lines in 7 a.m., lines out 3 p.m. Be back at Oxbow by 4 p.m. Your body doesn't have to be your entire truck, kayak, whatever. your body has to be at Oxbow Ramp on land by 4 p.m. If you are rolling up in your kayak and it's 4 p.m. and you have not made it to land yet, you have not checked in yet at the end of the tournament. Boundaries, we'll do boundaries just one more quick time. Why not? While we have this actually went a lot quicker than I thought. We'll do boundaries one more quick time while we have some people on here still. Remember, I did kind of mess up the boundaries a little earlier. I apologize. There is a northern and southern boundary. Route 24 is a northern boundary. The dam's a southern boundary. However, everything in between is legal as long as it's navigable by kayak from the main body of water. As long as it's between Route 24 and the Hoover Dam. And I really can't think of much else that we can talk about.
Lines in is 7. Is that what you said?
Lines in 7, lines out 3. Back at Oxbow by 4. Oh. And yeah, we should be good to go. The only thing I'm going to add to this is most people have heard the news. We are partnering up with King Cat next year. I will be hosting a bunch of kayak events alongside of their boat events. There's been a few questions and concerns, and I'll address just a couple of them really quick here. We'll do a lot more. We have a whole off season to go over this, but the immediate concerns is, and one of them was when I said we're not gonna have kayak guys pre-fishing the day of the boaters when they're out there fishing their event between the bridges. And that's something really simple, and I'll explain why we're doing that. So our event boundaries is essentially this entire bay. This is our event boundaries for our Sandusky event. This entire bay. What we're going to ask you guys not to pre-fish during their event on that Saturday is just this right here. We're just going to ask you guys, please don't be in here during their event on that Saturday. It's because they're kicking in $5,000 plus. $5,000 is the floor that they're kicking in, but they might be kicking in more. And this is just to prove to them, like, hey guys, we can do this. We can share space, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's a big ask. I really don't. And then once we prove that we can handle this, no problem, that we won't have this kind of stuff in the future. Also, this is kind of a little area, boats flying back and forth, a bunch of kayakers, a bunch of boats. Let's appease them and make sure they know that we are more than capable of handling this. And they put $5,000 in. Every single kayaker I've talked to is like, hell, I just won't even fish. I don't care. They're like, if you told me I couldn't fish, $5,000, hell, that's awesome. I did have a boater say to me, like, hey, you can't tell people. I'm sorry, what was that, Ryan?
For $5,000, take a day off work and pre-fish on Friday.
Yeah, well,
There's not one angler in our scene that makes $5,000 a day. You know what I mean?
I know. I had one boater message me and say, like, you can't tell people not to pre-fish. And I was like, in this situation, I can happily tell people not to pre-fish because we are creating a collaboration, and this isn't going to be the standard forever. This is just, and it was a boat guy. It wasn't even a kayak guy. It was a boat guy. And I'm like, this is just a one-time thing. We're just going to prove to them we can do this, and there's going to be no issues. I'm not worried about it here. Now, if it was like always like you can't let kayakers pre-fish, well, then I'd be like, well, then we probably got to walk our separate ways because there's no way we can have people not pre-fishing every single time. We can't be second-class anglers just because there's a boat tournament the day before. But I have no problem doing it in the first event this year just to prove to also, it's an extra $5,000, and that's never $5,000 alone is more than any kayak catfishing tournaments has ever paid out ever, I believe.
I don't think I've ever seen one that paid out $5,000 to the entire field for finishing out.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the highest payout tournament I think we've ever had was this last one.
I think I think there was one nationals that beat us in payouts once. But other than that, I think we have like the top 2 or 3 so far. And then this one, that $5,000 ad, that's before the 1,200, or that's after the 1,200. So we're looking at 6,200 before we even step foot on the water. So I don't mind making a couple sacrifices here and there for the Sandusky event for this partnership. And guys, remember, this is just the beginning. They want to invest in us more next year. So let's just play ball, like play fair, play ball. I don't think that's a big ask. And it's only from 8 to 3 p.m. and it's only between the bridges, guys. Look, you have all this other space you can fish. It's not a big ask. So I'm not too worried about it. Another fair concern, and this was a kayaker who asked me this. He did say, like, is this going to be an every single event type of thing? That would suck. And I'm like, it's not going to be an every event type of thing. And I already spoke to Bob. We've floated a bunch of ideas out. Like next year, for example, purely an example, may or may not happen. I don't know any catfishermen in Louisiana. Doesn't really make sense for us to go to Louisiana. We don't have a demographic down there. Well, when they go down to Louisiana, maybe we fish Hoover. So we might not even be in the same city every weekend, and we might just have our event in a different spot of the country as them. We can do separate weekends. So like Chickamauga, for example, they fished Chickamauga this year a couple weeks before we fished it. I mean, heck, maybe next year they do it on one weekend and we do it the following weekend. So there's nothing set in stone. I don't want anyone watching Sandusky and thinking that is the concrete standard forever. That is not the concrete standard. This is just what we are partnering up for this year. And we're going to prove to them that as a scene, we can handle being around the boaters. We can handle fishing around the boaters. And, we're mature enough not to get upset when we have to give and take a couple things here and there. So, hey, Texas. Yeah, we have, if not for anything other than in Andrew's honor, we have to have an event in Texas. Would you be down for an event in Texas?
I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who fish down in Texas, and Texas waters are awesome. I would love to have an event in Texas. Also, and they have a
wintertime.
Yeah, that would be sweet. And they have a built-in crowd. They got Clint, Andrew. They have their the Texas Kayak Catfishing Club, TKCC. If I'm not wrong, I do apologize if I just
as a branch off of us in a way.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. They may have. I don't remember. I don't want to take credit for that. Hey, you said that, not me. I'm not taking credit for that because I honestly,
all those guys were fishing our events, and it just kind of they went their own way in a way.
Yeah, that makes sense. And anyone in the chat, any questions about our teaming up with King Cat next year? Because it wasn't a lot of concern. I really didn't get a lot of concerns, but the questions I did get, a lot of them I already answered with Bob. And then the one, it was too funny, man. It was a boater telling me that I can't tell kayakers, and you know who you are. And I was like, no, don't worry. It's just a one-time thing.
So my thing on that, it's you're the admin, you're the tournament director. If you make a rule that says you can't pre-fish the day before the tournament, don't let us catch you on the water the day before the tournament. I mean,
that's fair.
That's not unheard of. The BASS Elite Series, they're not allowed on the water for an entire 3 months before a tournament.
Wait, what? Is that real?
Yeah, and then the week before the tournament, they get 3 days to pre-fish.
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
And they're not allowed to call. Like, there's rules against them calling and getting information from anybody.
So that I have heard of. Which,
yeah, I mean, I think it's 3 months that they're not allowed on that body of water for.
Yeah.
And that's the Elite Series. I mean, that's like the top of the top of the top of the bass world. But
but there's also a trade-off, and that's my explanation here. Is I'm assuming they're making a lot of good money.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our trade-off here is, guys, don't pre-fish for 7 hours, and we get an extra $5,000. Like, that's the trade-off. There has to be a trade-off.
I mean, I understand that everybody doesn't have PTO time to take off work, but for $5,000, none of us make that in a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not a big ask whatsoever. I don't think it's a big ask whatsoever. So there's Dave McKinley, big fish winner of our last event. He said, "Heck, I didn't want
lately too. I think he's leading the big three."
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think he's in the lead in the big three right now on the regional series.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's
That's
been on
actually,
fire.
let's take a look at that regional series real quick, and then we'll call it a day after that. Tournaments, regional, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky. All right, we got 10 guys in there. Chad Reynolds, biggest blue over. All right, well, I'll have to go fix this later. I don't know why
It's
the
not
overall
showing the overall.
is not pulling the 3 scores. I
But
keep
you can
messing
still
one
look at
thing.
Dave's fish there. I mean, you can
Yeah.
tell.
Dave has a 37.25 blue, and that's a fatty. Dave has a 36.75 flathead. That is a good fish. And does he have? And he has a channel cat. That's a good score. 36,
Yeah, he actually got a
37, 73.
trifecta in one day. He got all three species in one day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think he's just short of 100 inches, if I'm not mistaken. That's awesome.
And that's a good score for that tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a very good score.
I wouldn't actually mind seeing a month long maybe for the big three in the national, but I know a lot of national guys don't have all three.
Which would make it fun.
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't necessarily have the same guy taking it every single month. Because if you're mainly a blue cat water and you don't have great flatheads, and then the overall, so there's like a legit chance for 4 different winners every single month out of one tournament. So maybe we'll test that out in the future.
And we also been throwing around the mini rod challenge again. So
yeah, we will be having another mini rod challenge. I'm just trying to figure out when and where we're gonna do it. So, you good, Ryan?
I put a bigger reel on my mini rod.
That's ridiculous. That's hysterical.
Yeah, that's the 30.
That's awesome. All right. Well, if we have no more questions from anybody, we're gonna hop off here, and I'll go and fix this overall leaderboard issue with the regional. Best of luck, guys, this weekend, and I'll see you Friday afternoon.